Good morning, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about our next principle of design, contrast. So make sure you've got the definition down. We need contrast. That's the difference in elements. Okay, so write that down, contrast, the difference in elements. And I'm going to show you 3 different examples of how to show contrast. So I'm going to use color, I'm going to use value, and I'm going to use shape. Okay, and you are going to follow along and you're going to make your own version as well. So our first way of showing contrast or a difference between the elements, we're going to use color. So write down the word color. You are going to use, at least for this example, we're going to use complementary colors. So remember, complementary colors are across from each other on the color wheel. It creates the largest contrast or difference in colors and emphasize each other. So if you use colors like blue and orange that are next to each other, they're across from each other on the color wheel, but if you put them next to each other, they will make the other one stand out. So you can see an example of this that I've provided for you. I know you might not have a color copy, but you can see the colors here. So this is a red apple with some green apples and a green background. So the part that you notice first off is generally the red apple. You might also notice this green apple here because they're really have contrast in color and they have contrast in value as well because this one's darker and lighter. But this red really stands out and the green looks extra vibrant because they are complementary colors and they're next to each other. So you are going to choose some complementary colors from your pencil box and you can pick whatever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and do blue and orange just because that's what I had listed in the example over here. So I'm going to use blue and orange. It could be pens. It could be the colored pencils that you were provided for this class. You know, you can use whatever you want. So you just need to fill this little section and draw something with those 2 colors. So I think I'm going to do a pattern. I'm just going to do a little thing like this. I'm going to fill these in orange. And then I think I'm going to add some blue details because we got to make sure we have that blue in there. So I'm going to add in some blue. Now by adding the blue right next to that orange, or the orange next to the blue, however you want to think about it, it makes those colors stand out, right? If we used analogous colors or colors next to each other on the color wheel, we would have a low contrast because there wouldn't be very much difference between the 2. So like if I have that orange and blue, they stand out a lot. If I took orange and yellow, I'll do a little example down here. If I did orange and yellow, they might not stand out as much if you're just looking at those because they look nice together, but they don't have the same emphasis that the complementary colors do. So the next thing that you could do to have a large contrast, a high contrast, a large difference in elements, because color is an element, value is an element. So I want you to look on this picture right here, right? So we've got the dark values next to the light values create the largest contrast. So an example would be like indigo blue, really dark blue, next to a baby blue, a really light blue. Now, if we look on this little paper here, this has, you can see these 2 squares kind of stand out the most, right? Like this one probably stands out the most because this is a blank or white square next to black. So that's a high contrast because there's a big difference. So it stands out the most. Now this one down here where it's a black square against the white background, that stands out pretty well too. But you can see as you get towards the middle and you have a gray next to a gray, it doesn't stand out as much. But as you make it either, you know, one of them darker and the other one lighter, or vice versa, it makes it stand out more. So for this one, you want to make sure you're emphasizing the contrast. So you want to have lots of contrast difference, okay? So what I'm going to do for mine, I'm going to make a pattern. I'm going to start with, you can come up with your own thing, but I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to start with a line, and I'm going to make some shapes on both sides, like that. Now I'm going to make this into a rectangle just because it'll make it easier for me to fill it in. Okay, so here we go. So now there's my rectangle. So on this side, I'm going to fill in these triangles. So the ones I originally drew, I'm going to color that side. I'm going to color these in. Now on the opposite side, I'm going to color the background in. So I'm going to color the area around. And by doing that, I'm kind of emphasizing, I'm making a big difference between this black area and this white area. Now, like I said before, you know, you can use color to do the same process. So like if I wanted to do a really light blue next to a really dark blue, or like a pink next to a red, I could do that. But the main thing is you have to have something that's really dark and something that's really light right next to each other. Okay, so this last one, so make sure you've got value and then your picture, okay? So this last one that we're gonna look at is shape. So for shape, we've got geometric shapes next to organic shapes create a large contrast in shape. So geometric shapes, a shape such as a triangle or a rectangle that can be defined precisely by mathematical coordinates and measurements. So think about it this way. If it's man-made, if you can use math to figure out what it looks like, then it's geometric, okay? Organic shapes, a shape that is free form or irregular, the opposite of a geometric shape. Really, a lot of times these come from nature. So if you think about a leaf or a tree or something like that, something that doesn't have, you know, something that you can make a math problem out of it, right? Okay, so this one, we're gonna end up, you're gonna come up with your own geometric shape and you're gonna come up with your own organic shape, okay? So I'm going to do a triangle, and you could do a triangle or a circle, but you want to spend a little bit of time on it, make it kind of a fancy, you know, picture. Don't just do a super simple thing, make it kind of look cool, you know? And then for my organic, I think I'm going to add a leaf shape. All right, so those are going to be my two, my geometric and my organic. All right, thanks everybody.